Welcome back to Fight Weekly, where weekly we break down the upcoming card and analyze the fighters you'll see this weekend. What an exciting weekend ahead of us. We have 2 championship fights in the light heavyweight and bantamweight divisions. The eagerly anticipated rematch between Magomed Ankalaev and Poatan Alex Pereira. And in our co-main event, another banger matchup as Merab has one of his toughest challenges as he faces off against Corey Sandhagen. Please like the video if you enjoy this content, it means a lot for the channel, and subscribe to see more weekly fight breakdowns. Now let's dive into this week's matchups, starting with our main event. Champion of the light heavyweight division, Magomed Ankalaev is boasting a very impressive record of 21-1-1. With those 2 outlier fights happening not too long ago, you can see him in his last 5 fights where he got a draw against Jan Blachowicz in 2022 and a no contest against Johnny Walker in 2023. He's had a nice win streak since 2024 in which he claimed the belt from the man he's facing off against this weekend. Ankalaev is the much younger fighter, but that doesn't mean he's very young. He's 33 years old, and that's right near his physical prime as a fighter. Alex Pereira is challenging for the belt right away. He's holding a 12-3-0 record, with his last fight being the one in which he lost the belt to Magomed. Pereira is getting old, man. He's 38 years old, and he's much closer to the end of his career than the beginning of it. The betting odds favor Ankalaev with a -265 live line on FanDuel compared to the +200 underdog price for Alex Pereira. These fighters have similar sizes, but of course the striking monster Alex Pereira has a whopping 5-inch reach advantage. He failed to utilize it in their first fight, but maybe he'll realize this advantage this time around. Let's take a look at Magomed's last few fights and see how he's coming in for this fight week. He's had 3 fights since 2024, starting with an instant rematch against Johnny Walker. Remember, he just had a no contest to Johnny Walker. And in the rematch, Ankalaev silences the questions from the first fight by knocking down Walker in the second round and following up with a devastating right hook to the face as it's against the cage to earn himself a round 2 TKO victory. His next fight was against Alexander Rakic, where Ankalaev was a -380 favorite. He threw more strikes, though significant strikes were comparable between the two. Slightly more control time for Ankalaev as well when it came to the stats. Ankalaev looks to have had a slow start as he lost the first round on all scorecards. He made adjustments that he needed and won the second and third rounds for a unanimous decision victory here. And in his latest fight, he challenged Alex Pereira for the title earlier this year in March. We're only going to look at this fight once, so let's dive into it. Pereira was a -135 slight favorite before the fight. Statistically, it was no question Ankalaev had the striking advantage and landed himself almost 6 minutes of control time as well. It was a frustrating fight for Pereira. Ankalaev seemed to be able to best Pereira with his striking all fight, even wobbling him at times. Not to mention the pressure he put on him on gaining 6 minutes of control time on top of his striking difference. It was a recipe for victory for Ankalaev. Almost shocking to see that Pereira won 2 of 5 rounds on 2 of the judges' scorecards, which means it may have been a closer fight than the statistics show. Pereira won the first and last round on those cards, proving he hadn't mentally quit on himself and perhaps even solved the puzzle at the end of the fight. Now, I know we just saw Alex Pereira's latest fight, but let's see the rise of Poatan and how he initially claimed the light heavyweight title. It starts with his match against Jiří Procházka for the vacant light heavyweight belt. Pereira cooked Jiří with the calf kicks, and the threat down low set up the openings, and with greatly timed counter striking from Pereira while Jiří rushed in with his hands down classic stance. Pereira gets a knockdown and finishes the fight with massive elbows from a takedown defense position. For his first title defense, he fought Jamahal Hill, where he got one of the most confusing KOs Jamahal will ever experience. It was a round 1 clean KO for Pereira, but after a little bit of foul play from Hill. Hill kicked Pereira in the nuts, yet was somehow the one that was complaining about foul play after the fight was finished. Next, we saw the rematch against Jiří Procházka, where Alex shut down any questions of Jiří reclaiming the belt and maybe derailed Procházka further from the top of the division. Pereira had him rocked at the end of round 1, and 10 seconds into round 2, he throws a head kick from God that obliterated Jiří, and Pereira defends his light heavyweight belt for the second time. His third title defense was against Khalil Roundtree, which we saw was one of the tougher fights Alex Pereira has been in, because his shots were just not damaging Roundtree the way they normally would to any other opponent. But as the fight got longer, Pereira got more in his flow and put so much damage on Roundtree that he got a TKO victory near the end of round 4. And we've already covered his latest fight, his decision loss to lose the belt against Magomed Ankalaev. This is going to be a crazy rematch as we've finally seen someone outskill Pereira on the feet, and will Magomed Ankalaev be able to replicate the same results? There's also been some crazy news in the past week where these fighters have had some choice words for each other, arguing and debating through Google Translate, so there may be some more emotions going into this rematch than the first fight. I'm interested in hearing your predictions, so leave a comment below telling me who do you think wins this fight this weekend. And now in our co-main event, we're looking at the Bantamweight Division Championship. The champ, Merab Dvalishvili, is taking on a new challenge for himself against the number 4 ranked Corey Sandhagen. Merab has been on a crazy win streak, and Sandhagen has 2 for the most part. We'll look at their recent fights in just a minute. They're both in their physical prime, around 33 and 34 years old for both of them, but FanDuel has the live odds set very far, with Merab being a -440 large favorite and Sandhagen being a +310 hungry underdog. Sandhagen has a massive height advantage, but that doesn't fully translate when it comes to the reach, because he's only got a 2-inch reach advantage on the reach while having 5 inches on him on the height. Let's start looking at their previous fights, starting with Merab. He's had 4 fights since 2024, but we'll start with where he took over the division and got his championship victory over Sugar Shane O'Malley. Odds makers still didn't know what to make of Merab at the time, because the pre-fight odds were just a straight pick'em between the two. Merab stole the show, throwing 4 times the amount of strikes as O'Malley and landed double the significant strikes. Not to mention grabbing himself 10 minutes of control time on top of that. It was a frustrating fight for O'Malley, but the scorecards were generous, with 2 judges having Merab win by just 1 round, making it seem like a very close fight, but really, Merab seemed to be in the driver's seat the entire time. His first title defense, he addressed the fan favorite matchup and took a dangerous fight against Umar Nurmagomedov. Umar trains with his cousin Khabib and all of the Dagestanis, but was more known for his striking, which fans thought would give Merab lots of problems. Merab was the sizable +240 underdog going into that fight, and he showed up in a big way. Strike for strike, he was on par with Umar and even managed a small advantage on the control time as well. 2 judges scored it 3-2 for Merab, but as the fight got closer to the end, I think Merab was the fresher and stronger fighter, having better performance in the later rounds. And in his latest fight, Merab had his rematch against Sean O'Malley, and this time prepared himself better and was able to finish the fight. Merab dominated through 3 rounds, and at the end of the 3rd, he found himself a Darce choke that transitions into a North-South choke for a submission win. And the man he's fighting this weekend is Corey Sandhagen, who's had just 2 fights since 2024. It starts with a unanimous decision loss against Umar Nurmagomedov. Sandhagen was the +275 underdog in this matchup and allowed Nurmagomedov 30% more on the striking statistics, as well as gave up over 5 minutes of control time. Sandhagen was shut down this entire fight, even losing 5 rounds on one of the scorecards, and the other 2 were not much better. It's no surprise Umar was the favorite against Merab after having a fight like this, but let's not forget how Merab handled Umar. And in his latest fight, Sandhagen took on a highly ranked Davison Figueiredo in another main event 5-round fight. Sandhagen finds himself playing jiu-jitsu with Figgy's leg late in the 2nd round, and as Sandhagen pressures for a top position, Figgy takes a bad roll and blows out his knee, finishing the fight and giving Sandhagen a TKO victory. And it's off that fight that the promotion is giving him the title shot against the machine, Merab Dvalishvili. This is MMA, so anything can happen on any given Saturday. But let me know if there's something you see about this matchup in the comment section below. That's all we have time for on this week's Fight Weekly. Thank you for watching. Please drop a comment with any feedback you might have for the videos. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel to help us in the algorithm. We've got some crazy fights ahead of these 2 ones as well this weekend. So as always, let's enjoy the weekend and let's enjoy the fights.